Hello, I'm Donna. Welcome to my channel. My channel is about overcoming abuse, and I am here to pre-warning. I drop the F-bomb quite often. Just so if you can't take it, just maybe click off. But I'm here to validate the fuck out of people that have lived through abuse, especially the heinous, insidious, invisible emotional abuse. Actually, sort of all abuse has an emotional abuse component to it. And the emotional abuse is always the start of something that will end up as physical, sexual, financial abuse. Sometimes emotional abuse is also called narcissistic abuse. So I am here to validate the fuck out of the people that have lived through it. And I'm also here to raise awareness for people that are observing other people's behaviors and sort of bringing understanding and hopefully some compassion for people and some patience for people that have lived through emotional abuse. Um, Fuck the predators. They don't give a fuck what you feel. They don't give a fuck what you've been through. They don't give a fuck to understand the damage they've caused. So fuck them. But this video and my channel is to help uplift the victims. I'm going to talk about renaming that and help bring understanding to other people, that maybe don't know about it, or maybe, someone that's not a predator that's in relationship with someone that has CPTSD, which is, the name of what the symptoms and the behaviors you live through after you've had emotional trauma. And they are visible as fuck. They can be seen on an MRI. Yay, some good things from technology. It's, okay, so I'm going to try and stay on topic here. It's hard because I'm someone with CPTSD and we very much live in the emotional body. And so today's video, I would like to talk about the pathology of someone that's lived through emotional abuse, who's lived through some trauma and, what the pathology looks like, AKA what symptoms of behavior they have after living through this trauma. Like yesterday, I talked more about what's going on in the predator's mind and what their pathology is about. I think psychology is pretty fucking bomb. Like I know all medical fields need some work. We're evolving always as a, humanity and mankind, whatever the proper word would be to use. Look at how I pick myself apart so much. Part of the symptomology. We're always evolving and we're always learning. The emotional trauma causes not only psychological damage, but causes physical damage to the nervous system and neurological damage to the brain that can be seen on MRIs. This is a very real thing, emotional abuse, And so the renaming, I want to say first off that I don't know if I said it already or not because I've filmed a few times. I don't like totally disposing of the word victim because when we don't acknowledge that there was a victim, we don't acknowledge there was an abuser, we don't acknowledge that the experience existed, and this further traumatizes, this further gaslights, which means, not trusting your own reality, the victim of emotional abuse, and it further traumatizes, it kind of minimizes, it's already invisible. It's already hard to accept that it's happened, and, it's hard to call someone a survivor when they're inflicted with CPTSD and they're struggling just to get out of bed in the morning. It's hard to accept that word, like I'm a survivor. Which, I am a survivor of domestic violence. I did get out of that. But I am still a victim because I am still feeling the after effects of this. And that's what I want to talk about today, about like understanding why someone can't just get over it and just move along. Like, again, this is neurological and physical damage to a being. It's like telling someone that has two broken legs, well, the next day. Like, why don't you just get up and walk? I mean, just get up and walk already. Why don't you? Our emotional body, our brain, our physical body and our nervous system has been severely damaged by psychological abuse. It's a big fucking deal. And it's a hard thing to overcome. Like, can you imagine the complexity of the brain? There was a saying I read the other day, I forget who it was by. It was something like, if the brain were as simple as we would like to think it is, we would be more simple, or we would be too simple to understand how simple the brain was, something like that. Like, physical trauma is awful, no doubt, but we can see it. We can sort of gauge it. We can look at that broken leg and we can kind of know what to do, um, I think psychology is amazing in that they have learned how to label these patterns. Like, I know before having the label of the CPTSD, we're not labeling people. We're talking about, we call it CPTSD instead of saying, this person has these behaviors of self-isolating, of not being able to carry out tasks and dreams and desires. This person has very high self-doubt. This person has very low self-esteem. Instead of saying that, we just say this person has very intense emotions. Instead of saying all those things, we just say this person has CPTSD. So I had all those symptoms before I had a label. It's not a way of minimizing a person. It's a way of explaining a slew of symptoms, And I am not my CPTSD, but I am struggling with it. It is something that has been inflicted upon me by an abuser, by an emotional abuser, what some people will call a narcissist, which in psychology they'll call it MPD. These are cluster B personality. Again, very bomb, very right on psychology about naming the behaviors of these type of predators, because I can look at the people that have inflicted abuse on me and they fall in those exact patterns of behavior. The love bombing, the idolizing, the devaluing, the belittling, the discarding and loop, the hoovering, the never giving closure so they can do what's called garaging or shelving you so that they can perform the hoover because they need everyone to idolize them. And they will get that at any cost. They don't give a fuck what they do to your mind, what they do to your nervous system, what they do to your being. They will be idolized and they don't give a fuck how they get that achieved, okay? So these are their psychological patterns of behavior. And, when you can pull your emotional bond, AKA the love blindness, away from these dynamics and look at them in their pure, raw, what happened, you'll be a little shocked, a couple of things. One, there's a Richard Grennan on YouTube. He talks a lot about narcissistic abuse. And, this is why I want to make this video today, because I was thinking this exact thing. And then I watched one of his videos and I'm like, wow, yeah. Until you have lived through emotional abuse, you will minimize the hell out of the victim. And I'm going to let you know, you are traumatizing them. You are re-traumatizing them because they are already so disconnected and so untrusting of themselves and in their own reality, and you are re-traumatizing. And I'm not saying you're doing it on purpose. I'm trying to bring awareness so you realize, and, he was saying in the video, like, it's sort of the shock, what we go through, that our body goes through this, these symptoms and this damage to the emotional system of the being, which in turn, yeah, it's all connected, causes physical, neurological damage, spiritual damage even. So, until you've been through it, you really can't see it. Emotional abuse is blind. It's not even like verbal abuse. It contains components of verbal abuse. But if you just tell someone the words that someone said, they'd be like, yeah, and you're upset about that. The thing is, it's the way it's done. It's the context. It's set up in a very psychologically manipulative way. And it's it's damaging, and it's damaging to a being. So Richard was talking about how, like, if you haven't lived through it, you don't understand it, and how it's like almost the shock. And this will be another video I make next about having your reality so fucked with, that's where all that self-doubt comes from. That's where that low self-esteem comes from, um, it's the disconnection to your own reality. And the thing is, it's when you meet one of these monsters, and yes, they're monsters. I'm not dehumanizing them. They're in, and you'll understand further where I come from with that when I make the next video. They're living in a cycle, a pattern of behaviors that is so damaging to other human beings. It is so, so damaging. And part of it is the shock. The shock when you have lived through this, because until you have, you won't believe that there are monsters like that out there that will cause this psychological damage to another being. You won't believe it until you've experienced it. And like he was saying, it's a shock on your system. It's a complete shock because, you liked to think that everyone was kind and compassionate and was capable of empathy until you meet one of these cluster bees and you get entangled in their web and you become a target to them. You somehow set them off and you trigger their shame, what they'll call narcissistic injury or narcissistic mortification. If you pinged it too hard, they are like seek and destroy, and it's psychological manipulation. It's like brainwashing. I can't even tell you. Like, it's like living in. He brought up the movie Inception, and it's so true. It's like you're trapped in your own mind, from this. It's devastating, and you will live in a state. That's where a lot of that cognitive dissonance will come in too, in a state of denial, because you're trying to grasp on to your own reality that, no, this person can't be a monster. No, this person, there's compassion in there somewhere. There's empathy in there somewhere, and that's where a lot of the people pleasing comes in. And you try and try and try, and you will never, ever, ever appease them, because they are incapable of those feelings, Like I said, I will talk about it in another video. I am not dehumanizing someone else. I am speaking clear about someone else's behavior that dehumanizes others, actually. So you want to point the finger, point it at the truth, point it at where the dehumanizing is happening. Dehumanizing is not happening by calling something what it is. It happens when we deny what something is. That is dehumanizing. What these people do with this emotional abuse to others is the exact term of dehumanizing. They take away our reality. They gaslight us. This is brainwashing and manipulation like you would not believe. And like Richard had said, welcome to the club, for us that have been through it. It's like, and to those of you who haven't, you will not understand until you've lived through it. It is pure devastation on a human being. It is devaluing, dehumanizing. And, that's why a lot of us have spiritual awakenings. It's a quick path to dissolution of ego, because you will have a complete break, a complete loss of connection to your own being. So I want to talk about today, like it's already 14 minutes again. I have so much to share, and maybe I need to just calm myself, and that's part of the pathology, and know that I can share more later, and I can share what I can right now. But I want to try to give people a look into what it is like to be with someone with CPTSD, which is someone who has been through emotional abuse, through deep psychological damage to their being. So I've read they've done, come up with some headphones or something that you can put on and listen to what someone that has psychosis or schizophrenia, what it sounds like in their mind. And I want to do the same thing for, never finished, about people that have, lived through emotional abuse and have, the CPTSD, which can also come from physical abuse. But like I said, there's always that emotional component. And I think really the emotional abuse is more devastating because there isn't the physical component there, although the damage is physical. You can see it literally in the brain in an MRI. But it's that more insidious because it's not seen. So it's like it's so important to bring awareness because we can all see when someone gets physically abused. We can all see it. When someone gets emotionally abused, it's invisible. It's like it's a sad thing. It's invisible, and so it's hard for people to even believe it happened. And it's not, like I said, it's oftentimes not even verbal. It's not like they'll say something so subtle, and it's the way it's said and when it's done and the context and the timing and the manipulation. It's a mind fuckery. It's like living in a fucking labyrinth. It's hard as fuck on a being, cutting through the fog of that and then cutting through your own denial that I just saw a little orb fly, cutting through your own denial that, like, your abuser is, just a well-meaning human being and they just have some trauma. No fucking excuses for abuse. And someone is an abuser until they overcome that. And that doesn't happen overnight. Just like the recovery from the abuse doesn't happen overnight. That person will need to do a lot of work to make amends for the damage they have done to other beings. It's not just, oh, flip a switch. Oh, hey, I love you. I promise I'm going to change. That is not change. Don't believe that. So, what it looks like to be someone with CPTSD, I want to let you know that when you tell them to just get over it and to move on, that you are invalidating the fuck out of them and that you are further traumatizing them. This is emotional trauma. It is damage to the nervous system and to the brain. We can't just get over it. And like I said, can you imagine how complex the brain is? It is so much harder to overcome than a broken leg. It's beyond comparable, it is beyond comparable. This is overcoming patterns of the brain. This is overcoming inflictions upon your brain. So what happens that they can see on the MRI is people that have lived through emotional trauma, that the frontal cortex reasoning mind, when the information comes in, it bypasses that and goes straight to the amygdala, which is the emotional center. That is why we seem very intense and very emotional, because we are. We're living in the amygdala, the deep, 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 and there's beautiful things about it. Like earlier this morning, I'm looking, it's 18 minutes, but I'm going to ramble and I hope it saves. I was watching some geese flying in the sky and it brought me to tears, like this is someone that has lived through trauma. We have these heightened emotions, and the beauty of it is too, when you like someone like us, we feel deep love from that. When you connect to someone like us, we feel amazing, and when you insult us, we feel like a piece of dirt. When you minimize us, we feel invisible, So also we're living in the limbic brain, it's the survival part of the mind, because we've lived through the emotional abuse, we've lived through the trauma, and this has activated this hyper arousal state. So we live in that limbic brain where we are, it's those heightened emotions. It's, if you've ever been in a car accident, you know what it feels like to be in limbic brain. It's where time does not exist. You ever feel it's sort of like Armageddon-like when you like are in an accident and you like those first like seconds or minutes after where time sort of just stops and you have heightened awareness. You are like, that's where a mother can lift up a car off of a child. You are like, you are so capable during those moments. It's you're in survival. It's you shut off the logical brain. You shut off all those narratives, all those stories, all the logical reasoning and that. And you are just in primal survival mode, and, you know, um, I was going to compare it too to like if you haven't been in a car accident, like the anxiety you feel like maybe having to do a speech and maybe like the first few seconds, because usually we calm down after, we're giving the speech. I'm just trying to think of anything where you would have heightened emotions, anything that would activate that limbic system, the survival. Now, I want you to think of someone experiencing that and having to work like that, having to go to work like that. I want you to think of someone that lives in that hyperarousal state most of the day, most of the time. We don't stay there always, but we're there a lot more than other people. We spend a lot more time in that limbic brain, in that emotional body, And it's not something that I can just will myself out of. I am using this vessel that I'm in and what it's capable of, and I can overcome. But it takes a shit fucking ton of work, Like this is neurological damage. There is literal neural pathways that have been grooved and grooved and grooved over time. It's called complex post-traumatic stress disorder because it's complex because it's, multiple hits on a being, multiple hits, multiple hits, multiple hits. And so it's complex, it's many. And so, these neural pathways have been grooved. And so, this is where a lot of the people with, the symptoms of this, where they have the negative thoughts and, they have the negative perception of self, This is what someone did that's just a person that everyone makes mistakes. Oh my goodness. The low self-esteem and, just the disconnection to self, the heightened emotions. Again, think of how you feel right after a car accident. We are living like this in this state many times throughout the day. Imagine what that feels like. And imagine being told, just go to work and do tasks that require the frontal cortex. This is why it's exhausting as fuck. Imagine being in that state all the time, primarily, most of the day. That's why we isolate a lot. This is why we, sometimes can't get out of bed, and this is why we'll do a lot of grounding techniques like baths and for me running and meditating. And there are things to do. Can you imagine, in order for me to live a normal day, I have a list of things I need to do every day or I will become dysregulated. I will fall back into that limbic system. I need to meditate every day. I need to run every day to shake off those energies. I need to journal every day. I need to make sure I have sleep. By the way, good luck with that because you have emotional trauma and it's hard as fuck to sleep. And, it's the dreams are unbelievable. So, it's a tasking thing. Can it be overcame? Yeah, a shit fucking ton of work. I've been, I think, 3.5 years in therapy and I'm just getting to a place of recovery, to a real grounded place. I've had my ups and downs through the 3 years where I, start pulling out. And then, like I said, those neural pathways are grooved in there and I slip back into it. It's very hard. It takes a lot of conscious work, so please don't tell people to just get over it and tell people to just move on. This is neurological damage and it takes and here I'm going to validate you, which I think I never said it. You're not a victim. You're not a survivor. You became a deep feeling feeler. And I'm going to validate the fuck out of you deep feeling feelers. Just that you get out of bed. I know what strength that takes, man. I know what strength that takes, let alone go to work. I know what strength that takes. And I'm here to say you are fucking one fucking amazing fucking powerhouse. You are a pillar of strength that you can even get up out of bed because of what your body and mind and nervous system are going through. You are nothing short of a motherfucking miracle, okay? So feel that. Please feel that, And we do got to get up, and we do got to try, and we do got to retrain this brain. We do got to start, new neural pathways. And I know it's hard as fuck. It's hard as fuck, and you're going to slip back, and you're going to want to go back in denial. You're going to justify for your abuser. You're going to minimize your experience. You're going to minimize yourself, and you're going to go want to lay back down in bed. And I'm telling you, you got to get out of your head. You got to get out of your head. And I understand you, though. I understand you, and I'm validating you. And it takes work. It takes a shit fucking ton of work, and I understand that. And I'm not saying just move on and just get over it. I'm saying just take those baby steps. I'm saying just start and just know that when you slip back, it's okay. Those pathways are grooved very deep. It's like coming out of the grave. They are hard to come out of. It's hard to dig out of that grave. I just want to say shout out to Teddy here. I haven't told anyone at work that I have CPTSD. I'm sure he knows. He's my Facebook friend. I'm deep in recovery, but I'm going to say it took me to start this new job. The first 2 weeks, I had to talk a lot to my therapist. I had to learn what's called reframing. It's the same as the cognitive dissonance. It's where your brain is giving you these negative thoughts. I gotta end this soon, is giving you these negative thoughts, and you've got to retrain your brain. It's like the narcissist within. It's what the abuser left you with, it's that inner critic, and, telling me I can't do it, and to give up, and I can't do it. And, I love this job. I do, and I can do it. But, the first 2 weeks, and until it became habitual and I felt comfortable, and, I proved to myself that I could do it. The first 2 weeks, I had to do so much self-talk. Every time I drove there, I had to tell myself, you can do this. You've done a job like this before. You can do this. You can do this. I have to talk to myself like this, I just want people to understand, emotional abuse, it's a real thing, and it's a hard thing to have to do. Like I said, damn timer, I gotta pick up my daughter. Wouldn't you like to be able to just wake up in the morning and just do your day instead of having to do all these coping techniques to be able to not get emotionally dysregulated? It takes a shit ton of work and a shit ton of reframing, stopping the negative thoughts. Reframe, uplift self. We have to do this all day long until we get out of it, and we start getting out, and then we can get hit by an outside source. That's why it's so important to stay away from toxic, abusive people, because they'll pull you right back into that grave. You need to disconnect from people like that. That's why we isolate a lot. It's our own things can have more than one meaning besides the damn timer. Besides being overwhelmed by the nervous system, it's overwhelmed by, people that, may even be well-meaning, but, sort of re-traumatize us, it takes a shit ton of work. So next time you want to tell someone to just get over it, I want you to imagine that how you would feel living in a state of just getting over a car accident, having that hyper-arousal state constantly like that. It's very taxing on a human being. And I want you to know that it's neurological damage to the brain. You can't just get over it. You can't. You can overcome it with a lot of work, a shit ton of work. Okay? But it takes a shit ton of work. So patience, all right? Patience, gentle on yourself and outside people. Patience and gentle on the deep feeling feeler that has lived through, that has been a victim of emotional abuse and trauma. Thank you. Peace out. Validating the fuck out of you guys, I hope. I hope this is received. Thank you.